and are caused pain by evil neighbors. So your suffering even in your grave affects you. There is a story mentioned by our scholars that once there was a graveyard, a specific grave that people had to dig up and remove the body from the grave because the grave had been damaged due to rain. So they opened up the grave and they saw the deceased lying inside his grave, and there were two roses, two branches with roses on his chest. And they were pleased to see this wonderful sight because they hadn't buried him with these roses on his chest. But they had to move the person from his grave because it had been raining and the grave had been damaged, so they had to move him to another grave to receive the body. When they dug open another grave and they placed the deceased inside the grave, those two roses turned into two snakes. They turned into two snakes. And as they saw this, as soon as they saw this, they began to panic and were puzzled as to why this was, where these snakes had appeared from, out of nowhere. And then they referred to a sheikh, a man of God, a Sufi, for help, for advice, and he told them, he said that the thing is that these two roses, these two snakes that you see, they were snakes in the first grave as well. There had been snakes in the first grave as well. But that grave was close to the grave of a pious man, to a friend of Allah. And because of being close to him, because of being in the suhbah, in the company of a friend of Allah Ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala changed those snakes into two roses. And now they turned back into their original fierce form, into the shape of snakes. If you want him to be saved from this punishment, then I advise you to take him back to the first grave and bury him again near that highest person. So our suhbah affects us not just in this dunya, it affects us even when we die. Which is why even the Prophet ﷺ said, bury your deceased, your dead people, amongst the good people, amongst the naked people, if you can. So suhbah is very, very important. There is a hadith in which the beloved Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, a person cannot reach the essence of Iman, of faith, until he loves for the sake of Allah and he hates for the sake of Allah. Another hadith, the beloved Habib of Allah ﷺ stated, whoever wants to taste the sweetness of Iman, he should love someone for the sake of Allah. So having love solely for the pleasure of Allah is necessary if we want to reach the core of Iman, if we want to taste the true sweetness, the true taste of Iman. We have to learn to love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is a saint who said that a friend that reminds you of Allah whenever he meets you is better than a friend who gives you a dinar, money, whenever he meets you. Sayyidina Abu Sulaiman Darani rahmatullah alayhi said, a friend is one who reminds you of Allah Ta'ala when you see him, even before he speaks. A friend is one who reminds you of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala just by seeing him. He doesn't have to say anything. Seeing him, being in his presence, reminds you of Allah Ta'ala. And Sayyidina Abu Sulaiman Darani rahmatullah alayhi himself said, that I have friends that if I see them once, one glance at them gives me enough motivation, it gives me enough passion, enough jazba. I act for 1 month, I do amal for 1 month on the back of that one glance. Subhanallah. On the back of that one ziyarah. I have friends that I see once, and off the back of that once the other, I ask for one whole month. It helps me to do amal for one whole month. So a friend is one who reminds us of Allah Ta'ala, reminds us of our duty even before he opens his mouth, even before he speaks to us. Sayyidina Ali Karamallahu Ta'ala was from Kareem told us not to befriend a sinner, a fasik, because of the effect of his company. He told us not to befriend a fool, an ahmaq either, someone who isn't smart, because a fool will put himself through trouble but not benefit you. And sometimes he will want to benefit you, his intention will be good, but he will cause you harm instead. A fool's silence is better than his speech, and his distance is better than his closeness. And don't befriend a liar, a kadhab, because his friendship will not benefit you. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah says, we should stay away from we keep ourselves away from the company of bad akhlaq people, of people whose characters are evil. And haya is something that we should look for. Haya, modesty, shame is a quality, an attribute that we need to search for when we search for friends. Because the Holy Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said that a person with no haya, with no modesty, has no iman. A person with no modesty, with no haya, no shame, has no iman. And shame and iman are very closely linked. They have a very special, a very tight bond. If one leaves, then the other leaves as well. If haya leaves a person's heart, there is a risk, there is a danger that iman will leave his heart as well. Because haya is the one sifat, the one quality that prevents us from committing sin. Haya is the quality, shame is the quality which prevents a person from disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Holy Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that if a person has no haya, if he has no shame, then he might as well do whatever he wants. In other words, someone without haya will indulge in the filthiest of actions, the most shameless of actions. He doesn't care about what people think, what Allah Ta'ala likes or dislikes, what Shariat says, what people say. If he has no haya, he isn't bothered about what people say, and he will do the most filthy, he will indulge in the most filthiest of actions. So haya, my dear brothers, is necessary for the completion of iman. The Holy Messenger, the Holy Habib of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that indeed every religion has a special quality, a speciality. And the speciality of this religion, of Islam, is haya, shame, modesty. So, the company of a shameless person will make us shameless as well. The company of a shameful, a bahaya person will instill the haya into our hearts as well. Sayyidina Malik bin Dinar rahmatullah alayhi said that any friend or companion who you sit with and you do not benefit his sohbah, his companionship does not increase you in your deen, then avoid the company of such a person. Avoid the company of such a person whose companionship does not benefit you in your deen. And Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah mentions that as much as possible, जिस कदर मुमकिन हो बुरे लोगों को देखने से भी बचें. Avoid even looking at evil people, because even looking will influence you. Even looking at evil people will tempt you to follow them and imitate them. So our Gurus, our ancestors, our Mashayikh are telling us, are teaching us to avoid even, to control our vision, to control our eyes, and even avoid looking at evil, shameless people, shameless things. Because even looking at them affects our heart. There are many other pieces of advice that